number 18. Which formulas represent ionic compounds and which represent covalent compounds? So ionic versus covalent. How do we identify what type of compound it is just from its chemical formula? So you remember compounds, there are two different main types of compounds. So going over here, we have the ionic, and then we have the covalent. It's pretty easy to answer this question, to identify which type it is based on the formula. And first, let's remember that ionic compounds are made of positive and negative ions. The positive ions are called the cations, and the negative ones are called the anions. 99.99% of the time, the cations are made of metals, and the anions are made of nonmetals. Okay, I'm color coding this the same way the periodic table down here is color coded. So the nonmetals are the green elements, and the metals are the blue elements. So that's how you identify if a compound is ionic, is if it has a metal and a nonmetal in the formula. Now, I said 99.99% of the time the cation is a metal. The one exception, I might as well mention that. So there is, for this right here, there's one exception, and that's when you have NH4+. Okay, that's a polyatomic cation. It's kind of like a charged molecule. It's a group of atoms that are connected together that carry a charge that's kind of shared among all of the atoms. Okay, so this is the one polyatomic cation that you should learn about. So if you see NH4 somewhere in a formula, that's an indication that you have an ionic compound as well. So that would be the positive part, and then you would look for whatever the negative anion is. But most of the time, your cations are metals, and your anions are pretty much always nonmetals. Okay, covalent compounds are pretty easy to identify because they're nonmetals only. Okay, unless of course you see that guy. Okay, that might mess up. Anyway, I don't think NH4 is in any of these formulas over here. So looking at these formulas, C3H8. These are, carbon and hydrogen. You see carbon right here. It's a nonmetal, and then hydrogen is on the left-hand side, but it's one of these green elements. Okay, it's also a nonmetal. So C3H8, that's a covalent compound. So I'll just put covalent right there. All right. Now this is actually propane. Propane, C3H8. I'm sitting next to a propane heater right now as I record this. What about ClBr? That's chlorine and bromine. Well, chlorine and bromine are in group 7A, the halogens. They're right there, right next to each other, and they're both nonmetals. So that's also covalent. What about this one right here? CuO. That's copper and oxygen. So oxygen is a nonmetal. You can see it right there. But copper, on the other hand, is a metal. Copper, you are familiar with copper. So there it is, a metal. So I'll call this one ionic, because you got a metal and a non-metal. Okay. positive. The copper is a positive ion, and the oxygen is a negative ion. Actually, the copper is a +2 ion, and the oxygen is a -2 ion, but that's not really important for this problem. Okay, the last one is CH4O. These are all nonmetals. So carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. You got the hydrogens over there. That's that one nonmetal on the left-hand side, and then carbon and oxygen right there.